Well, dude, you know what I always thought? Red Bull would be such a good sponsorship for Quidditch. Because what were the two questions?
Can you fly?
How do you fly?
Oh, yeah.
Red Bull gives you wings.
How do we make this happen, dude?
Dude, I thought about this at one point and I was like, dude, that would be so good. Like,
Who do I have to reach out to?
and like they're into like sponsoring niche things, but they have to be marketable, which is honestly part of like my like a thing that I could go on a rant about. Which honestly, I feel like if I talk about club, people are gonna be pissed.
Why?
Well, because I've never played club at like a high level.
You got a regionals trophy. He got a regionals ring.
Dude, I got a Make-A-Wish ring, dude. Because I feel like I never get to take advantage. Like, this would be the first time I actually like think about possibly taking advantage of the fact that like
we're going somewhere.
I'm going somewhere, dude. Like, I've gone to. Okay, my first nationals was Round Rock. The second one got canceled. Then I never went to nationals until we went to Philly. Dude, I've only been to like 1, 2. Did I go to nationals the fall? What was the nationals after Philly? Was it Round Rock again?
Yeah.
And then after Round Rock was what?
Today.
This last one? Richmond? Dude, I've only traveled for nationals twice. That's actually pretty sad. Dude, like one of the things that I give like almost the same speech every year when you get to Natties, but it's like, dude, this is like one of the only times that you actually get to like travel and then like eat, breathe, sleep, think, live quadball. You know what I mean? Like, some people do that all the time, which is not recommended because, I mean, we're supposed to be students. So, like, lock the fuck in, bro. I've been to Richmond 3 fucking times, dude. I'm kind of over going to Richmond.
Such an overrated city, dude.
Like, I was pissed. Okay, look at the 3D scan of my feet. All right, so I am Emmanuel Bustos, a.k.a. Manny Bustos, a.k.a. Manny Fresh, a.k.a. Manny Stale, a.k.a. Manny Washed, a.k.a. Unk.
Bros kept track of all the meme names.
I mean, you know what I mean? See, I feel like that summarizes my resume. But no, I started playing quadball back in 2018. Oh, man. Some people say that's since the dinosaurs. For the record, I am younger than David, actually. So I just want people to know that because people don't seem to understand that. But yeah.
It really bothers you that everyone just assumes.
I know that's the assumption.
There are multiple people on the team who are older than you.
Yo, like, actually, yeah. Played on Bobcats till COVID. Played on Texas State. Did Team Mexico a couple times. That was a good time. Oh, yeah. I've also won the Club Open National Championship with Skyline. Shout out Skyline. I won a regional championship with the Warriors. It was my Make-A-Wish ring, you know. Carried me to the title. I got my only achievement was a block on Hayden. He made a shot. He thought I was slacking, but I wasn't. I went, oh. And then I hit it out of bounds. And then Brandon Cubina, dude, he just ended up like running inbounds and dunking on me anyway. So, yeah, negated it. But 0 buckets, 0 assists. I had an assist on an assist, though. Is that a stat?
The hockey assist?
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
I just like talking and yapping about the history of quadball. Student of the game. And I have a lot of stale takes. A lot of big opinions that I will go into rants about. That's just who I am, honestly. So don't take anything I say seriously because it probably doesn't mean anything. And frankly, I'm probably wrong. I think that the college division in USQ is the most difficult championship to win in quadball in the world. Not only are you having to put like the team on the field, but every team has politics. Every team has like their drama. Every team has to recruit. Every team has to fundraise. Every team has to make sure that their players pass. Like there's like universities, right? Like us, like I don't think you can actually participate on the squad unless you have like at least a 2.0 all at the same time. And like you have to like build new players at the same time that you're having like experienced players, and how do they gel? Like, I mean, we're seeing that a lot right now, dude. Like seeing David run with like a line of like rookies on it, you know? 2 different paces, 2 different speeds. I think it should end nationals because, you know, it's the one that people mostly care about, in my opinion. Club, though, at the same time, from their perspective, it takes forever to build something up, though. Because, like, if you want to build up your team, you might even have to start with developing a college. And that'll take freaking forever. Going back to my point, I think that the college championship should be the last one. Because I feel like it's definitely like the one that people stay to watch the most. It's the most unpredictable. I mean, realistically, like even if there are more club players than there are college players, people are more willing to stay for a fun game that's more unpredictable and with new faces. Because like honestly, like you get tired of like, I think the club players, I've heard some of them say that they're tired of watching the same like 40 people play the same game, right? Every single year at the end of the year. So they definitely play at the highest level, but it's way more fun to watch a college final. Way more fun. Let's see. So favorite one to watch on film? This was like right before I started, but I wish I was there for the one where UT lost to the University of Rochester, because it was like a huge upset.
That was the one where UT and Texas State played.
In the semis, right, yeah. And I know that a lot of Texas State alum live and die by the fact that that was not defenseless. It was defenseless, bro. It was defenseless.
Attack the beaters, not even waste his time with some of the chasers up front. It's going to be
Molina has cleared the biggest lane. My gosh, Texas over the top. It's the keeper.
Wow.
Ooh, what a hit.
John Anderson taken down by Donovan Mitchell. Hold on a second. Oh, man.
There is
I think they're about to call Donovan Mitchell
there.
for defenseless receiver, because you got there, he was on the ground, and you finished through. Jackson trying to argue this one down at Simona Renz. Ironically enough, these two going to be duking it out in the national championship final.
And there it is.
Man.
That is a straight red card. And a very difficult call there.
Like, but history repeats itself. I mean, Leo did it in our D2 final, so it's like, yes, dude, it was defenseless.
It was not, dude. And you know what?
Yeah, Texas State putting the pressure, hoping for the turnover, but Arizona State regroups.
Eva Turi just absolutely floats it over Dylan's head, a little bit too high even for Dylan there. Texas State gets the stop. So the call in this game, and this is a very big call, is a red card on Leo Rodriguez for defenseless receiver. Leo Rodriguez, a key piece to this team, is no longer allowed to compete in this game. Chance Cooper will be serving his time in the penalty box.
Point is, the word on the street is, I mean, I think there was like a big injury on UT during that game that like really limited them defensively. And like, from what I remember, Bassam like just drove on them and like tore them up with the shots through contact too. So like, honestly, great game. But the big part about it was like being in that crowd, because I think that like you could tell that everyone lost it, that UT lost. Like it was massive. Because I think that was like UT's first final since their three-peat, right? It's like, okay, can UT do it again after their three-peat? Yeah, because 9. Yeah, they won 6, 7, 8. 9 was won by.
I can look it up.
Stop! There were 3 numbers there.
Oh, hell no.
Oh, 2013. Yeah, so that was World Cup 6, World Cup 7, and World Cup 8. But 9 was QC Boston. 10 was the start of the Cav three-peat run. And then it was Cav Texas State in the final. Cav won. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like being in that crowd must have been crazy though, because like everyone was losing it. You're seeing like the Giant like lose like it's David beating Goliath. I think it was massive for the Northeastern people. Because up to that point, only Northeast and Southwest teams had won the Natty, I think. Was Creighton the first team to break that pattern? Boom Train was the first, yeah. Midwest team. First non. And honestly, I was kind of calling it, dude. The Midwest has really been on one here recently, right? I mean, Creighton, but also like most of Boom Train isn't from Creighton. They've done a pretty good job of like actually like helping the college teams, like in person, out of the ones I've seen. Okay, so here's the hard part. Creighton versus Virginia was it was interesting because of like the gameplay, the fact that like, you know, Virginia made their comeback and Creighton kind of like letting them come back. Like, honestly, like that, I don't know, right? Like, that's pretty legendary, but the environment wasn't as hype or as crazy as Philly was. And honestly, one of the big stale takes, it was because everyone was drunk. Everyone was dehydrated. They were actually selling beer. I'm not saying that we were drunk, but I'm saying that, like, okay, so for context, USQ sold beer at Philly. In Philly, dude. And the crazy part is, it was such a massive success, and it made the crowd like rowdy. Everyone was so much more into the game. Like, it really felt like a sports environment. And then you get to the following year, and it's UTSA versus Harvard again. Nowhere near as hype. Nowhere near as hype. And I think it had to do with the fact that instead of like just selling the beer outright, you had to buy a drinking ticket, which was like $100 or something. It was like part of the VIP package, so that then you could buy beer. And then I think it had to like stay within, like, so I don't know if that was a facility thing, but like USQ, like, you got to let the people have their bevs. They just need to be in facilities where bevs are allowed, because honestly, that was hype. I think that was a big factor. And I'm not saying that was my favorite one to watch live because people were drinking, but it was like the environment was just way better. Way better. And you know what sucks? And I don't know if I've ever said this publicly, but dude, I hate the fact that they don't have crowd audio. Like, you need the crowd audio for these finals. Like, when you watch that game back,
Quadballs with UTSA. They're looking to press high. Tiarini.
it's like not even the same. The hype level is not there. That's a massive difference. Like, all you hear is the commentators, and like, while the commentators, hey, they did a good job, all that stuff. Honestly, I forget who the commentary team was. They could show the excitement, but that's like, you know what I mean? Like, with the silence in the background, you just don't get the excitement. It's not the same, because it's like saying like, yeah, we're a lot of fun. It's like, all right, who's going to believe that, dude? You know, like, if you say, yeah, this is a lot of fun at recruitment, like, nah, bro, you got to show it, you know? So like, showing the environment is massive. I don't know. Honestly, I thought that like this would be me going on a 10-minute rant about like a topic, and then you could use it as like a tiny segment during like you and Brandy doing your show.
It's like a segment episode. It's like a side plot. Like, it's like a spin-off.
It's a spin-off. It's a spin-off.
Series. A limited series.
A limited series. Damn, he's already like canceling me, dude. I can't have more than one season. Honestly, like, dude, I love watching Harry Greenhouse become the chant leader for like the Northeast. Like, he just gets everyone riled up, and I love having an antagonist. Like my dream is, right? Like, my dream is playing in the final, right? And having like a crowd that's against you and a crowd that's for you. Like, having that while you're playing and feeling the energy of the pitch. Like, dude, remember when we were playing Creighton and like the feel around the pitch and how everyone was watching, and it was so freaking loud. Was it loud? Did y'all feel it was loud? It was pretty loud. Well, dude, the problem is I remember it being loud because I couldn't talk. Like, I couldn't be heard. My voice was so far gone. I ended up getting diagnosed when I got back with like an ear, nose, throat infection. Dude, I'm pretty sure I know how I got it too, dude. Like, the week before, right as we were going, I think it was like Tuesday after practice. Like I got home, I ended up hitting this, and I had the same water in it since the Super Bowl. And William, dude, William had where he, and the problem is like when he does that, like a lot of it just kind of goes back into the water. So I'm pretty sure there was water festering, mold, sitting outside in my patio for 2 months. I forgot to change the water, dude. No, because it was like a ceramic piece. So I couldn't see the water. It was cool as hell, but like every time I saw it, I was pissed off about how I feel. Like, dude, I legitimately blame myself for losing because I had that infection.
For Creighton? For last
Dude,
year?
I could have called Ian hot on that last play. I could have called him hot when he got beat right as he was exiting keeper zone, and I was. If you look at that clip from your edit that you just made, that you posted, I'm literally yelling at Ian as he exits. Like, I saw the moment, I could see in my reaction. I literally threw my head down because I knew he was going to get beat, and he couldn't hear me yell hot.
Well, to be fair, that's also like on us for not telling him.
Yeah,
But everyone relied on me making the calls.
Well, we shouldn't have to do that. Like,
Well, no, I know, but like I set that up, and that was the precedent that I set up through the entire season. I made calls, and I was making them, and I showed up with an ENT infection with something that could have been totally preventable. Because it should have been me making the call. And Ian was pissed, too, after the game. He was like, I didn't hear a hawk call. And he, like, looked at – he didn't blame me, but he was like, honestly, like, you know, like, someone should have gave it to me. And I was like, I know, dude. I was yelling it, but like, you couldn't hear me. Dude, and he was literally, like, 5 yards away from me, too.
It was pretty quick when it happened. He picked it up and ran, like, no more than 4 steps.
But he's also smart enough, and I think he would know this. I would have just yelled like hi and then told him to rip it. And I think he would have known exactly why I was telling him that. I really do think he would have known. Like Ian and I had a very good like connection and trust in that if I told him, hey, rip it now, he would just rip it because like I really do think that he would have understood what I meant. And he would have just ripped it at hoops, and then we would have just had another set defense, and we could have gotten it. I don't know. Where were we even? Why did that come up? Rochester, UTSA, Harvard. Yeah, I don't think any of those are the best college team ever. And I think that there's a lot of people that say that it's UT as they came back from COVID. But nah, dude. That's the most dominant team ever. I will say that. That's the most dominant college team of all time. They literally won every single game. I think that was the first ever fully undefeated season. Creighton was the second, I think. So that's pretty cool. Good for them. But I think that UT 2019 through 2020, right before the pandemic, like was the best college team of all time. I could probably like they were just so deep. Like you could name like 15 players that I think would be starters right now in college. So starting lineup, you have like John Anderson. I don't even think he was a starter at Chaser, which is pretty insane, right? He was good. Luke Meisner, one of the greatest shooters of all time. Honestly, like legitimately, like you have no idea. He would just be walking, bam, ripped it. Casey Beavers was on the come up. Davis Rowe was on the come up. Caroline Tao was a freshman and was cooking. Michael Johnston. Jack was on that team. Yes, Jack was on that team. Tate K was on that team. They had just graduated. Kylie. It was Kylie. She had just graduated from beating. And, like, that was a massive loss. But
was Kaiser on this team?
Kaiser was, dude, the crazy part was Kaiser was on the B team, and I was on Texas State's B team, and he was playing keeper. He hadn't even touched a bludger yet. I was actually at practices in Dallas whenever, like, during, like, not during the pandemic, but, like, kind of, like, coming back from the pandemic, where he was learning from Jack at these Dallas practices how to beat, so that when we came back from the pandemic, he would just pick up beating and he would just be like able to hit the ground running. Especially with how like dominant they were, it had a lot to do with the fact that honestly he was ready. Yeah, dude, he was my foil, dude. It was like him him keeping on the B team, dude. This is how I saw it that year, dude. Dude, he was my nemesis that year, dude. And there was like, dude, yes, dude, because he would like score all these buckets, and then I would get the buckets on Bobcats, dude. Like he was on. Mike Morrow. Dude, that year Mike got called up to varsity, so it was literally me, bro. It was me versus Kaiser that year. We got cooked, dude. We got cooked. Dude, honestly, bro did not know he was my foil. Like, no, dude.
Evil Manny.
Okay, hey, this is Kaiser. Dude, okay. And like, Kaiser, we got to see Kaiser at keeper his senior year. It was not the same, dude. Kaiser was way colder that year, dude. Okay, so Kaiser was a freshman. So it's like me as a sophomore versus Kaiser keeping as a freshman. He was very linear. He didn't have lateral movement because I think he had basketball experience. But like that was my scouting report back then, dude. I remember that vividly. I was like, dude, okay. So if he's like, just get in front of him, and if he has to cut a certain way, he usually doesn't, and he just tries to run through you. That was his move, dude. But when he developed that, I was cooked. I was cooked. Yeah, dude. He got around me every time, dude. He was like Prime J, dude. The one move. Oh. And he still gets you with it, dude. Yes. Yes, dude. Dude, 1,000%, dude. And like, here's where I'm coming from this, dude, is that like this UT team was so deep. I know I haven't. There's like names that if I looked at like the film, I'd be like, oh, that person. Like, and it would be like insane, and you would be like, ah, well, dude, like if they had this depth, they would run that UTSA team into the ground because of the fact that they only played like 8 or 9 people, maybe 10. Like especially like in a game like this, like the way that their philosophy is of like we're gonna keep the starters in until we can create some sort of lead or they can't play anymore, like that's really if that seems to be their philosophy, right? They would literally never come out because there's no easy point. There's no point in which the starting line would be able to ease off, and the following line was like not capable on UT. The following line was not capable of keeping up with their starters, straight up. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that year Cav was very involved in coaching them, and the year prior, and I think even before that, but like they would practice together all the time. Like UT people were invited to Cav practice. Cav people were always at UT practice. So it was almost like they would have 3 3-hour practices a week, because I think UT does 2 3-hour practices, if I remember correctly, or they did. I don't know. But then Cav would have their 3-hour practice, and it was like they would all have 3 3-hour practices a week, and they would all be at them. From what I heard, allegedly. Some people could verify or not. But, dude, like, they were just so dominant in every, like, down the depth chart, every phase of the game. Like, they had a great seeker. They had they had a literal Team USA beater still in college, TK. Yeah, he had been on Team USA 2019, and then he was still in college.
Who was their seeker?
John Anderson. So I was like, I don't know that guy. But yeah, I definitely think that team was the best because, I mean, they also got a win over Cavalry at A&M Classic, which I always talk about this game. This is like my favorite game to watch if you want to watch high-level film. Like that, I think, was one of the most. I watched it in person. I was literally right behind the camera, like Tiger TV. Jerry Taylor, shout out. Those who remember. The high quality film that he had. Dude, he did like a whole little like ESPN highlight reel during one of the timeouts.
Is this University of Texas versus UTLA and friends? I guess so. I mean,
that was actually pretty dope. The snitch was great. Dylan did a great job with like 2 high-level seekers trying to catch him at the same time. So there's high-level seeker play, really high-level beater play with literally multiple Team USA players playing on the pitch. The quaffle play was actually pretty interesting because like this was right after, like, I think they had just changed the hoop distance on the hoops. The season before, Cav had started playing like this 2-2, and it wasn't the first time we had seen a 2-2, but they almost perfected it too well. That like no one could get a shot on them because the hoops were 6 feet apart. So then they moved it to 9, and I think that in this game was like one of the first times that I saw Cav or like a high level team try to run trees as like a that was the defense. And I think that was Cav trying to actually like perfect trees early in the season before they actually like brought it to natties and made it meta. Best team of all time, Cav. I think we could all agree because they changed the meta multiple times. They were the meta, which is pretty insane. Pretty insane. Speaking of the meta, right? The meta is so static. Like gameplay, like the strats and the style of the game have not changed. There's not been a new strat in forever. You got to kill trees, dude. Trees is killing this game, dude. It's boring. It's boring to watch. And I think that everyone's too caught up in the fact that like it's just easy to implement, dude. Highlight plays are hammer plays. Like hammer plays take a lot of skill to execute, but tell me that shit looks cool on a highlight reel when you're trying to recruit somebody with a straight face. Tell me that shit looks cool. And then on top of that, it's like, even if it's a contested dunk and you've got someone, but like the contest is just someone standing in front of it going, you know what I mean? Like the most excitement you get out of that is like when I was doing that to Chance when he was dunking on me at practice and I accidentally hit his nose. You know what I mean? Like that's really as exciting as that ever really gets. You know what I mean? Like I did it for the highlight. No. And then honestly, like with USQ and the rules, like protecting the hoop defender with the charging rule, super, like I get why, but instead I think that it was like one of the most like you're reinforcing the use of this strategy instead of being like fixing the true cause of the issue, which is that we have a rule set where we want people to just stand there in front of a hoop and take contact, which is the most unsafe way to take contact. It is the most unsafe way. Like if you're standing there and you're not running around and you're holding the ball and you get tackled, that is so unsafe. Like and you tense up. Like that's why you tell people not to do that. Which we're just basically just telling defenders to go sit there and just take a dunk. Like it's unsafe. Like straight up. And we're doing this around the hard bases. Like safety wise, it's a terrible idea to have trees running. And like I think there should be an active rally to get rid of it. Not even just because it's boring, but because like safety. And like why would you not want to speed up the game? Because like you know what I mean? Like more buckets, more highlights. You know? That's my opinion. Speed up the game. I don't know if it's because 2-arm tackling. I don't know if it's because the hoops got spread out. I don't know exactly what did it, but like now the defense is like incentivized to just all sink back and wait. And you sink back so much that you literally just have 3 people standing on hoops with their arms up. Dude, I think I brought this up once on the rules team when like I was on the rules committee one summer. And honestly, I don't think I approached it the right way because I think I kind of was like, this is our opportunity to change the game forever. Like, you know what I mean? Like no one, I think it's hard for people to want to do that. Especially because like everyone is so harsh about things. Like, I mean, of course, people aren't going to want to change the rules that make them have to come up with a new strat when they're not good at coming up with new strats. Because frankly, like it seems like, you know, a lot of teams won't come up with their own strats and rather just like find resources or listen to certain players like in club and be like, this is what a standard, like these are the standard defenses, learn them all. And like, it's like it's become so stagnant that like everyone runs like it's like you just teach the defense and everyone's defense is almost exactly the same. Like, okay, this is how you run a 3-1 zone and this is how you run a 2-2. No one runs man anymore, but like you could teach man pretty easy. You can teach the 1-2-1, right? But like and it's like, okay, what other formations are there? But like it's not about that. It's about the fact that the rotations are so refined at this point that everyone just runs the same one, which isn't technically a bad thing. I mean, that's how football coverages work too. You know what I mean? Like everyone understands like, okay, these are the positionings and these are the certain rules, but I just think there's a huge lack of creativity right now. I think it starts with club. There's no need to create new things. I don't know. Because we play the same game every final, basically. Running trees or a 1-2-1. People don't really run 2-2s that often anymore. Everyone runs the Team USA strats because they have multiple Team USA players and it must be the best strat, right? I don't know. That's my take. Ooh, college franchises of all time. Okay, see, dynasties and overall programs, like, and their history would be two totally different ones. But I could do both. So, greatest dynasties of all time, number one, it's gotta be, and I'm talking like modern era, World Cup 6 through US Quadball Cup. Like, what was the last one? I mean, now they don't even put the number on it anymore. They do like the year, which I think is lame. Like, no, dude, the Super Bowl keeps it. Like, you know what I mean? Like keep track. You know what I mean? But the hard part is then no one counts. Like, I'm about to say this. No one counts the first 5 because it's not the modern era. You know what I mean? Like, Middlebury won the first 5. Do they even count? Dude, the first World Cup, the first Nationals was like just one game, I think, Middlebury versus Vassar or whatever it was. Like, and Vassar's back. That's actually dope, right? We could literally have the possibility of a Middlebury Vassar national championship final. It's possible. But it's like, but it's like, you know, no offense, you know. Okay, number one, not counting the first 5 years. Number one has to be the first dynasty, UT, winning World Cup 6, 7, and 8. So here's like, okay, so that team beating, are you saying UT from 2019-20? Yes. No. I don't think they beat them, but it depends on the rule set also. But like if you play it if you just forget the rule set, no, they wouldn't. But in terms of like dynasty, like when I talk dynasty, I think a big part of it being a dynasty versus what team is the best one ever is going back to what we were talking about, like how like people say that UT post-COVID was the best team ever, but it was really because they were just dominant. I think they were the most dominant team ever. I think I could also, like, within one season, yes, they were the most dominant team ever, but the most dominant dynasty in terms of, like, a core being together and, like, over a span of years, it's definitely got to be UT 6, 7, and 8 because they three-peated. No, I don't think anyone's ever three-peated except for Middlebury, obviously, right? They did at one point. They just dominated the entire sport. They were beating club players. At that point, though, like most people had a very similar level of experience with the game at the level that it was at, like the way that it was played. So like you could argue that that's almost not that impressive, I guess. I just think that like what they accomplished was pretty dope and they dominated the sport. And as a core of players, they then evolved, they graduated and created Cav the following year. And that year Cav was not great. Like that was the year QC Boston won. Right? Because UT like lost a lot of that core and they ended up having to go through like their whole rebuild and all that kind of stuff. But World Cup 9, Cav was a thing. And then they won. They like kept building. It took them a year, like one season to build and then become literally like the champion. Like they took a 1 season break from being champions. Like that's pretty insane. Number 2, I'm going to go UTSA. See, but like UTSA and Harvard will be like right next to each other because they just went 1-1. You know what I mean? Because that right there, that's a big deal to me. Their prime, like their age as a dynasty, I think I wouldn't say it just ended, but like I think they've gone through a whole generation of players. So for them to keep having success and not have a dip is going to be very impressive if we see it, right? And honestly, I mean, from what we see, that they're already doing it. But I think that the fact that they've only won 1 championship in that long time period puts it in a spot where, in my mind, got to demote it. Because they really did have a chance of winning it that first year back from COVID. They had a chance of winning it the following 2 years. They had a very, very good core of players that could have won it. I think Harvard and UTSA is like a tie at 2. Because they had multiple years of growth. And like the crazy part was like we were already hearing about Leo Freed before like COVID. Like they did this like all-time draft of players where it was like like any player from any country of all time, fantasy draft, pick your like 18-person roster or whatever. And Leo Freed got picked in that. And he was like a freshman pre-COVID. Like, and he hadn't even really like shown anything crazy yet. So we were hearing about that. And the same with UTSA. Like they had their first like really, really, like they'd won the regional championship that season until everything got shut down. So I think that both of these teams started building something pre-COVID and then ended up in a spot where they were going to perform very well post-COVID. And even though UTSA, like the hard part was they recruited probably like, I forgot exactly how many people they had at tryouts, but I heard that it was like literally like over 70 people that they had at tryouts. And they were like, yeah, we're just going to dwindle it down to 30 people. And it was like, dude, they could have had a second team, but they're like, yeah, no, we just want to focus on one because like, we don't have that much experience doing 2. From what I remember from what they were saying. But yeah, they both built something from pre-COVID into through the pandemic and then afterward and won a championship off of it. So you've got to put that somewhere in there. Then I would put Creighton because they were so dominant for so long. And I'm not saying were because it's over, but I'm saying were because like we're talking past tense up to this point. They were so dominant in that period, and I think it ended with them finally getting that championship this past season. So obviously really good for them on that. Number 5, I would probably go Texas State, but it's hard for me to decide like in terms of like where it starts and where it ends because World Cup 6, they came in and they did really good. I think they were in the final World Cup 7. And then I guess you could say it ended when they got to the final versus Cav at Nationals 10. Because in that period, they were still a very dominant team. And that's when, like, I think as, like, the history of Texas State goes, like, you kind of, like, we've talked about this, like, we are the team with the most Final Four appearances without a championship win. And if we follow, like, the trend, like, we've been up there and we just haven't gotten it, right? And I think we've kind of continued that, and I think that every generation's kind of done that so far. So 5 in terms of dynasties, I would say, from World Cup. The one where it was the final versus UT up until the final versus Cav, which the crazy part is it started and ended with almost the exact same game because is very similar cores were playing those games. The Texas State one kind of changed, but you still kind of saw like the evolution of it in like kind of the same way that the Creighton dynasty that I mentioned was. Like it was pretty different by the time you got to this last final, but it was still a dynasty in terms of like the program itself. And the crazy part is that the following 2 years, they still made the semis. I remember when we were in that D2 final and we lost it, and I was like, yeah, I'm cool, because then we would have a whole controversy about whether we should claim it as a championship or not. Because like after wanting to win a ship so bad, like a lot of the alumni were kind of showing up kind of for that game, and then they were like really into us winning a championship because, you know what I mean? Like they had been there and done that, right? Trying to win the ship. And it was kind of like, you know what I mean? Like at the same time, I was like, I don't want the first ship to be the D2 ship. You know what I mean? But not even that, but like counting it. Like, do you count it or not? Like, I don't know. Dude, and honestly, on top of that, as a team, as a franchise, I don't think any university has put out more international players than Texas State. UT definitely has more Team USA players, for sure. All time. But we have a bunch of Team USA players. We've had 2 for Team Vietnam. Dude, there was that one time when we were in Richmond for World Cup 2023. There was 11 Texas State alum or current players on that squad for Team Mexico. And I mean, of course, it's you know, like you kind of see it from the fact that, I mean, we're a Hispanic serving institution. We're real close to the motherland. But like we put together, like, you know, we create players that, you know, like, hey, play international ball. Tuan probably could have played on Team Vietnam, right?
1000%.
Dude, like, dude, if Tuan had the money, dude, and the time. Dude, my favorite Tuan story, dude, was I knew Tuan was competitive. I think I've always tell this story, but just for the audience, dude, oh my gosh. So I remember when we were coming back from COVID, we played UT really close. And we lost to them like 26-5 at Breakfast Taco. First game, like second game of the day for us, but like it was like early in the day. And then we played them again, and we played them really close. We lost 16-14. And Tuan was talking about how he had like the game of his life. And he was like going like bar for bar with Jack Wong. And I remember telling him like a month later, he was like, dude, I got to stay on that level. I need to be carrying. Like I need to be able to like keep up. And I remember telling Tuan, I was like, dude, I follow Jack on Instagram, and he posts himself running at least 4 miles every day, like his little like Strava map. Like I'm pretty sure it wasn't Strava, but like whatever it was. And Tuan was like, all right, bet I'm gonna run 5. And he did. He ran 5 miles a day because I told him that, dude. That was like the coldest shit I've ever seen, dude. So could Tuan come off the couch and play for Team Vietnam? Probably. Honestly, like Tuan was like so under recognized because of the fact that, like, I don't know, we're not cooking as a team that year. Because that's kind of what my vision was. I want to try to bring that B team back so that you have a feeder into your varsity. Like that always should be the goal, because there's such a huge learning curve. Like, you know, like we talk about like Virginia, but like Virginia, there was like this like thing going around where like apparently they used to do this thing where their beaters wouldn't even play until like their junior years, because they would have to learn their specific beating style that they would play and learn it over the course of 2 years, and then they would get to play on the team, and it would only be like junior and senior beaters because beating was so complex. Apparently that was the strat. But like, and I think, and there was like discourse about why they didn't bring like a full 21 person roster to this past nationals, especially because they were like at home. You know what I mean? You might as well. And they had people that didn't end up rostering. But I think that maybe it's them holding true to that. I don't know. That's just a theory. I don't know. They could correct me if I wanted to in the chat. Oh, dude. All time starting line, dude. That just gets so hard, dude. Okay, so let's start off with the easy ones. Beater pair, you're going to go Jackson and Bailey. I don't think that you can argue that. Very close second, in my opinion, Jess Markle and Ryan Naraki. Like, I think people slept on how good Jess Markle was. I mean, she was Team USA, but like, people did not recognize that. Like, I feel like some people did not see her as an equal to Bailey at one point. But I think they were equals, because at one point, dude, I've seen Jess make like these crazy beats from freaking Narnia, dude. Like, dude, sometimes she would carry Chris, dude, during snitch on pitch. Like legitimately, like she was like directing traffic and shit. Like, that's how I felt, at least my interpretation as a chaser. And we're gonna make some people upset. Let's make some people upset. Seeker, we're starting off. You gotta go Steve-O. Steve-O's the GOAT. John is up there. See, now, here I am making honorable mentions when I said that I was like not gonna do it, dude. No, see, now I'm gonna make John mad.
So why Steve-O?
Steve-O has been really consistent at a time where runners were just at a way higher level. Nowadays, people are getting caught way too fast, and you definitely see that in IQA, dude. Like if the game is in range, dude, the game didn't even matter. The game was irrelevant. There was no point to the game, because the catch is going to happen within the next 2 minutes, and whoever catches first wins. It's a coin toss.
This is so bad.
Yeah, like I'll say it, dude. Like, no shout out to the IQA flag runners, dude. And this was even at this was at the World Cup here too, with our flag runners too. Like, it just like, so that's me dissing the IQA end procedure. because people wanted to keep that the flag runner could end the game. While I do think that I think it holds its value in a 3-point swing. Like, you have a player that is like, it's like, oh well, it's not the same because the seeker doesn't get to be the hero or like make a big play that like totally changes the game. No, yeah, they do, dude. You get to make one play where like you make a 3-point swing. Like, that's massive. Like, that's a especially with how low scoring games are these days, with how condensed defenses are. It's so like anticlimactic to be watching a game live and you're watching Quaffle play and there was a catch and you didn't even see the catch. You know what I mean? Like, if it happens and like the game was in range and like the set score was almost there and like both teams were like within like a catch would win it, like that's on you for not paying attention to the flag runner. But like, if like the game is still like pretty close and you've got a set score like +6 from the high score and like both teams have only scored 1 or 2, like you can have the and like it ends with the catch. Like, I just feel like that's pretty lame if you weren't watching. Like, as a spectator, that sucks. And we don't have replay, like live replay for like live in person. Okay, now Quaffle. Here's where it gets very difficult. I'm going to go with a standard lineup in terms of gender rule, the old 4 max. Technically, here, it would be 5 max because I feel like the rule set has been 5 max during Snitch on Pitch for long enough. Like, the era of the current rule set with 4 max hasn't been around long enough to make it establishable to where, like, that is... I don't know if that makes sense.
Most of them play this 5 max.
Right, exactly. So, and also, I'm not going to go off of potential. Because there was a lot of times when people came in and played for a year, there was a bunch of potential, and then they weren't back the following year. They were only here for 1 year, and you were like, dude, if they had stayed, they would have been so good. And like sometimes people put those parameters on there. Nah. Like, while you were at Texas State is my parameter. Number 1, just because it's the easiest one, not like number 1 as in this person is the number 1 chaser, but like, I would put David on this line. He's a jack of all trades. He could do anything on a line. In white or green, dang, I'd put him in the green. See, okay, hold up, because he's good at the point. Oh, dude, I kind of put myself in a corner here. I think I would put Cat on this line. And it's very narrow between Cat and Mel, but I think Cat as a player on Texas State right now is better than Mel as a player on Texas State her senior year. But it was very close. Like, stuff that like something that like happened a lot to Mel was that people wouldn't respect her and she would be ball carrying, and like the way that some defenses worked, like it was like the standard to like, which was honestly I think kind of sexist, but like it ended up being like, hey, just don't mark anyone on the female presenting chaser. And dude, Mel would see that. She'd be at the top of the point. She'd look and she'd be like, so y'all just aren't going to put anyone on me? And run in and just shoot the ball, dude. And it would work. Like, it happened all the time. So I said I wouldn't give honorable mentions, but I'm going to give that one an honorable mention. So I'm inclined to put Eric on here. Dude, the stories you would hear, like, Eric was very efficient about getting blocks on beats for like a good like 3 or 4 years. And he still gets them. But, like, dude, there's a point where he would, like, just, like, keep running, and he would put the ball behind his back and get a block. No-look block. He's gotten those, dude. I've heard legend of these, okay? Like, I'm not even joking. I've heard there's legend. The lore dictates. Got past the meter wet. That one. It would have to be someone between Richie or Tyrell. Yeah, I'm gonna go Tyrell. And like, here's the big one: is that I think that Ian Crow played a lot in his movement like Tyrell, which so that I could put that in context for people who haven't watched Tyrell Williams play. That's my opinion. Kat, David, Eric, and Tyrell with Jackson and Bailey and Steve-O. All these players in their prime at Texas State. current Cat and David. Jackson and Bailey, I would say 2018 Nationals. And I can't really put years on Eric and Tyrell. I don't know what I would consider exactly at Eric's prime. He'd be like, right now. So beside his blocks, Eric was like a drive and dish merchant. Like he was really good at it. And that was the meta for the time. And I can really respect it because I know that it was like Beth and Ryan clearing out, creating a none situation, Eric driving. And you've seen Eric like drive for like Team Mexico. And one of his big things is that it's hard to really get a good hold on him. Back in like the earlier days, like World Cup 6, 7, the big move was like Eric was very good at doing his spin moves, which he still does. But like his spin moves were a lot more OP because of the one-arm tackling. It was really hard to get a grasp on him, especially because he was very good at like doing that, but also like tucking the ball or getting the ball out. Like if you hard committed to a tackle, because back then, dude, my first year we were doing one-arm tackling, and that year, like when you commit, like to do a tackle when it's one-arm tackling, you have to commit to leaning into the tackle and get a good hold. And you can't just get a good hold. You almost have to like use your head and your weight to kind of get like a pinch. So honestly, that's not necessarily the safest thing. But at the same time, if you failed at your tackle, or like even if you got successful at it, but like they still got the dish, like there's someone on hoops, you get the dish to someone, and theoretically there's still 3 chasers outside of like the player that was on hoops at that time in the meta, where like it was basically 3v2 to get to the hoops, if that makes sense. So it was almost like committing to a tackle sped up the game, or getting someone to tackle you was almost like drawing a beat because you created a lot of space, especially with everyone in man. Like if you were able to get open for the pass. Like you were free, basically. And Tyrell was just very, like, he's very athletic. I played with him before. He was really smart. He would make very smart cuts and call for the ball quietly, and he would make sure you saw him. He was very good at communicating different things that he wanted to do, and he was pretty smart with the ball. Like, he wouldn't just turn it over, from what I remember seeing on film, which I think is very big, in my opinion. I think offense is way harder than defense, especially these days. But, like, I think not fucking up on offense is one of the greatest defenses. So Tyrell gets a high grade for that. Ooh, who would I sub out? Dang. Because look, if it's snitch on pitch and you have to sub one of the guy chasers out, I might go sub. It would either be sub out David or sub out Tyrell, because they're both kind of similar types in their like play style. And Eric would be pretty good at driving and dishing, which is kind of the meta, because usually there's not as many beaters around. Right? So that's kind of a strong suit for him. So you're subbing someone out for Mel. Sorry, David. I'm going to go Tyrell. Got to balance out the eras. Eric, Tyrell, Cat, and Mel. With Jackson and Bailey and Steve-O. Recency bias would say keep David in. But yeah, that was the first episode of Stale Takes with Manny Fresh. If you have any opinions, comments, concerns about my takes, they're very welcome in the comments. Say something in the Reddit. I love creating discourse. I love when people talk negative about me. And we might even talk about it on the show. Talk about your comment and your opinion. Because, I mean, I'm probably wrong. Okay, yeah.